All schools install metal detectors to help tackle knife crime. We're taking your calls on this. 020 7862 2222. The family of 15-year-old Harvey Willgoose, who was stabbed to death at a school in Sheffield, have spoken exclusively to 5 News' Dan Walker in an interview which will air tonight at 5 p.m. Harvey's mother, Caroline, along with his father, Mark, and sister Sophie, have called for schools to do more to protect children, including installing knife arches.
What's keeping you going?
Just got to fight for him, got to fight for them kids, got to change things, got to change knife crime, got to change how schools are, how academies are, and how they've got to change with the modern world, and there's kids out there that's schooling for everybody. But I'm happy to go into schools and tell them the impact, not just on us, on the people that were there, the kids that were there, the teachers that were there. And I think we don't even really realise how serious it is with how many kids are carrying weapons into schools, which is why I want a knife arch. I know it doesn't solve everything.
So, yeah, she's referring there to knife arches. A knife arch would work in a similar way to something you'd see at an airport. School children would walk through the detector as they enter school, so they wouldn't be able to carry hidden weapons in their bags or on their person. What do you think, Annabel?
Well, look, I commend the bravery of families, of parents who are able to turn tragedy into what they hope will be a positive change, and it must take an enormous amount of strength to come out and speak about the tragedy that they have suffered. However, I don't believe that we need new laws in this instance. We don't need knife arches in schools, which would come at a huge cost to the exchequer. What we need, Jeremy, is to enforce the laws that we already have. It is illegal in this country to be carrying these sorts of weapons around with you, and if you are doing so, then there ought to be a police presence, neighbourhood policing, people who are able to clamp down on it with real consequences for that sort of behaviour.
James?
Well, the laws clearly aren't working, though. I appreciate what you're saying, that there are laws in place to prevent this from happening, but as we just saw that poor woman there speaking, it's not working. I got a statistic here: 1 in 5 secondary school teachers had seen pupils with knives, which is terrifying. I mean, you're a parent yourself. I mean, you send your child to school thinking that they're going to be safe and they're going to be looked after and they're going to come home in one piece, and then they get stabbed to death. It's really, really concerning. I think they're, with regard to knife arches, I think they trialled it somewhere in Lincolnshire at a school, and there was a significant drop in violent incidents. So it clearly does have an effect. But
I wonder if it causes big delays. I know I've seen it trialled, and I just think once you start to get a queue, you cause a delay, and then people can't get into their class on time. And
children would get used to that. But the wider conversation is around education. We should be going out and speaking to these young boys. You know, the community centres, education programmes. That's where we get at the sort of core fundamentals of the issue, because otherwise we're going to turn schools into prisons, which is, you know, it's going to affect children's mental health. You don't want to be going into a school that's got high security and, you know, possibly police or you know, security guards everywhere, you know, scanners.
That's exactly what knife arches are. This is a form of additional security, which I think is going to compound in the minds of young people that they aren't safe. And when young people are in that position, what do? They decide that the only solution is to arm themselves. But if you are armed, it is more likely that you're going to find yourself involved in some sort of violent event. And James, you're right, you're saying that the laws we have don't work. So why would we need to bring in more laws and more regulations? We've got to fix the ones that aren't currently working. And Jeremy, to your point about delays, it isn't just the delays practically of kids getting into schools, but it's also the fact that if they're not committing the violence in the school buildings themselves or on the estate, they'll just do it elsewhere. We're not actually tackling the root causes of the problem here.
OK, Derek is in Oxfordshire. Hi, Derek.
Hello there.
What do you think? Knife arches in schools?
I think it'd be a wonderful idea. Something's got to be done. It can't continue as it is. The amount of murders that are going on is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, not always in school. I mean, there are some terrible incidents where people run amok in schools.
Oh, yeah.
But when you think of the Southport stabbings and so on, that wouldn't have been covered by this, would it?
No, but it's general everywhere. Aggression is on the increase, and it's just society, I suppose. There's many things that contribute towards all these problems.
But why do pupils, well, on that score, so back in the day, no one would have carried a knife into the school I was at. Why do pupils carry them now, Derek? What, is it aggressions on the increase? Because the most I hear about Gen Z is they're the most calm and peaceful generation we've ever seen.
No, not at all. They're all dissatisfied with life. They all want more, but they're not prepared to put in effort to get more.
Okay,
They
so then they're already angry because they're not prepared to work hard enough.
Exactly that, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I've worked all my life. I'm in my 70s. I still go to work most days of the week. And I have this problem with money. I like it. So to like it, you've got to earn it.
What about that, James, that this is a sign of dissatisfaction among young people?
Yeah, I mean, there is a wider conversation. Lack of opportunities, stress, social media's played a huge...
That's not what Derek's not saying. Derek's saying they're not working hard enough.
Well, I completely disagree with that. They're not working hard enough. We're talking about youngsters at school. We're talking about people under 18. To say that they aren't working hard enough is a bit mad, isn't it, Derek?
I don't think so at all.
No?
I think they all want, but they don't want to put in to get it back out.
How can they work harder when they're underage? You mean in a career standpoint?
Exactly that, to improve their abilities in the future. I'm in a trade where it's manual,
right?
And there's only 60 engineers like me in this country.
What do you do, Derek? Exactly. What do you engineer?
I fix toilets all day.
Brilliant. We need you in this building because ours is always broken.
But I understand toilets inside out, and I work.
That's it.
Well, I can't say what I would call it, but I work some very big houses to some really scruffy ones, and I see life from all sides. And there's no respect left much in this world.
No, this is a different conversation in a way, but it's true. When have you ever met a young person who said that I want to be a toilet engineer? And yet you'll make a living for that, as Derek says, till the day you drop dead.
I suspect that we will hear it more and more with the rise of AI and language learning models, because jobs like paralegals and accountants and in perhaps advertising, marketing, those may become obsolete, or certainly get on the path towards becoming obsolete. And actually, the advice now is to parents to teach your kids to be plumbers or engineers or electricians, things that are more manual, that involve the hands, involve perhaps learning a trade, because those are the jobs that cannot be easily replaced, displaced by artificial intelligence.
Derek, thank you. That's given us a bit of inspiration there. Thank you, sir. And have a good day. Still working at 72. I suppose that part of it is that I do think the X factor is a big part of this, just the idea that you just can get stardom in a second and then you don't have to worry about anything for the rest of your life.
Well, when they poll young people now, they often find that what they want to be when they grow up is famous, or what they want to be as a celebrity, and the number of people who want to do good in the world or start up their own companies and this sort of thing is sort of slowly slipping down the rankings. But no, definitely we need more education in schools, better careers guidance in schools as to what subjects you ought to study that will enable you to pursue certain careers.
Okay, let's go back to knife arches though. John in Kent, knife arches in schools.
Yes, hello, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning. Because it's typical of this country doing these things that are miles too late. Should have been done. I went to school in the 60s and kids were carrying knives then.
Were they?
Because, yes.
I don't remember that.
I lived in Bermondsey.
Okay, well,
I just when you nodded your head there, you understood.
Well, I hear what you're saying. You're on the wrong side of the tracks, but it's kids were kids back then. I don't remember any. Oh, actually, funny enough, there was a lad who brought a penknife in, but he was a scout. He didn't have any ill intentions. Yeah. So it's okay. Do you think that the generation now are more violent, John?
100%.
Really?
100%. I think they're absolutely disgusting. And they're only like this because of the being let to be like it. There was something about the police now. Oh, the poor police, the poor this, the poor... everyone... We have got, in this country, mud written across our forehead.
Right. Okay.
We are... look, I hope I'm wrong, but in a couple of weeks' time, we'd be talking about the same thing when some kid's been stabbed to death at school.
I hope not. I hope not. Thanks, John, very much. It's, people a bit down on the youth here. Brian in West Yorkshire, is something going wrong with the kids?
Is that Ben Parker, Yorkshire? Yes. I'm 87.
Well done.
Yes, but the thing is, they're all ringing like this last gentleman. The last.
Here we go. There we are. Go on, Brian. Well done.
The last gentleman was correct, but you've got to meet. Somebody's violent at 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 18, or older, or a man. All these evil people that will shove a knife, bayonet, anything for them little kiddies and anybody like that. All them that's been on television that you all know that somebody's run a blade through somebody. Well, and these young children is this. If they're going to do that at 14-year-old or even 12, they're going to do it when they're my age at 87.
Oh.
So the answer is this.
Yeah.
You've got to treat it seriously, and you've got to give them 40 years.
40.
That's the end of them.
This is, of course,
now,
this is the plot of...
doing that,
yeah.
all these people, or young people, they'll soon stand up then and make their hair stand up and say, oh, we're having that. They're going to give us 20 years or 40 years, so they won't do it. But if you're wringing your hands all the time and getting more police involved, you're going to have to. If you go on, you're going to have a policeman in every classroom.
All right. This is a good thought here. What about that, James? You just say, look, everyone, listen up. From now on, if we're going to name, however young you are, you will be named and you will go to jail for 40 years, and that would stop it in a moment.
I think it would certainly go some way towards stopping it, but I think you also need to speak to parents. You need to get them involved. You need to speak to the children. I mean, no one's speaking to these children.
Also, you may find. I mean, I've just read a book. It's about an American school shooting, actually, but it's a novel. But it starts with a school shooting, and it's appalling, and it goes back over the life story of the perpetrator, and the guy has been bullied for the first 10 years of his schooling, and he finally goes completely crazy. Not justifying it.
This is what I mean. We're talking to these children, but we're maybe not listening to them enough and asking them why are they carrying knives? Why do they feel under threat? Why do they feel that they need to go to school with a weapon? I mean, when we were at school, this wasn't a thing. It certainly wasn't for my year.
Patrick in County Down, hello.
Hello, Jeremy. How are you?
What do you think? I'm well, thank you. Just thinking about these knife arches at schools.
I don't think that's really addressing the issue, Jeremy. When we look at councils and so on and so forth, budgets restrained, etc., etc. Youth clubs are closing down. They seem to be the first place that gets the hammer whenever the budgets get constrained. And then where have the kids got to go to? And youth clubs are a great focal point for adults and kids to engage, and a place where kids can sort of let steam off and so on and so forth. Yep. But there seems to be no talk about that whatsoever. Can I just say the previous two callers have a very dim view of the youth today. Yeah. I don't see that at all. I see the youth are facing different constraints than their generation had faced.
And you know what? Every generation attacks the young people. I mean, going right back to the 1920s, because there's people who've collected articles saying the youth are out of control, and it's from literally 100 years ago. Patrick, thank you. I guess it's just what we do as seniors. Can I use that?
I think we project our own neuroses onto the next
I'm sure we do. Yeah, well. And it's mods and rockers and whatnot. OK, don't forget you can see the full interview with Harvey Willgoose's family as they speak to Dan Walker on 5 News tonight at 5 p.m.